Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Anthony Breen, founder of Synergistic, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the great pleasure of talking with Rajamannar, the Chief Marketing Officer at Mastercard. Raja, it is a pleasure to have you here today. As a marketer myself, all I can say is you're giving me a priceless experience, so I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're being very, very kind, Anthony. Thank you very much. It's absolutely a pleasure being on this dialogue. So looking forward to a nice discussion.
Absolutely. So I have a few questions for you today. The first I have is, how has marketing changed more in the past 5 years than in the past 50? And what role has data played in that rapid change?
See, I would say that marketing predominantly used to be a creative, judgmental kind of a function, right? And forever it had been that way, where it's all about those two areas. It's the right side of the brain that you tap into. But I think probably late 1980s, early 1990s is when data, the power of data, was discovered by the marketers. And since then, there has not been any looking back because marketers suddenly realized, my God, this is something which will really help me do precise targeting, to be able to optimize the campaigns, to be able to measure in a credible way the return on their investments and so on. So all that has really driven data to the forefront. And there was, of course, the birth of the so-called data-driven marketing discipline. And today, marketing without data is absolutely not going to work, right? Particularly with the fragmentation of channels, fragmentation of the audiences, the ability for people to be able to almost get to a segment of one. As a marketer, you cannot live without it. And also the good thing is data has been hugely democratized. So in the past, if you had to really be in data-driven marketing, you had to invest a lot. First, you need to have your own huge databases. You need to have what we used to call as data warehouses. Then you need to have data analytics capabilities. You needed to have people who are data analysts on your team. It was a humongous amount of outlay. So the large companies could afford to do it, but not the small companies. But thankfully, with the democratization of data analytics, that scenario has changed, and anyone and everyone are able to access the power of data analytics and deploy it behind marketing. That's changed the game significantly. Particularly, I would say the last 5 years have been even more dramatic because the fragmentation of media post the social media world has been unbelievable. When you look at mobile devices and how ubiquitous they have become, again, this has led to a lot of fragmentation. So when you have more fragmentation, it becomes very difficult to reach masses of consumers who are all focused on your ad at any point in time. So in the old days on TV, you know that if you put it on prime time, say Saturday Night Live or whatever, the whole family is sitting in front of the TV and they are all there. So the eyeballs are all paying attention to you, the brand or the advertiser. But that's no longer true. People are always on. So what is prime time? And people are everywhere. Do we have the intelligence to be contextually appropriate? And do we know that we are even reaching the right people at the right frequency without overloading them across different media and across various channels in a way that is not wasteful, because marketing resources are becoming more and more scarce. So I think overall what happened in the last 5 years particularly is a significant advancement of analytics which are happening much more, I would say, near real time. Not exactly real time, but it's getting towards near real time. And for transactional companies, that's proving to be a huge advantage. And also things like whether you want to bid in real time through programmatic, and how do you decide whether something is really worth it at that point in time, and how much is it worth it? All these things are happening on the fly. And from those perspectives, data has really changed the game pretty dramatically in the last 5 years than ever before.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think as you look at marketing organizations, as we look at our clients, I think marketers and companies that are not, taking advantage of the data or are not recognizing the value or not recognizing that with ad blockers and other major fragmentation, as you shared, they're not seeing the value that they're getting. And also the results aren't exactly what they're seeing on their dashboards, right? And what that leads to, in my opinion, and I think in yours as well, is the commoditization of brands and marketing, right? And my question for you is, I'm personally fascinated with what Mastercard is doing around symbol marketing and around, sonic identity to elevate itself above that commoditization. Can you share, most people, don't know what symbol marketing is, don't know what sonic identity is. Can you share more about that? And also just how data drives those decisions, right? I mean, I'm fascinated personally to learn how you gain data from a sonic, identity and how that drives, brand affinity and brand affliction.
Happy to. So firstly, I keep sort of joking that D could stand for two things. It's very bipolar. D could be for data, D could be for dinosaur. If you don't embrace the first D, you will join the group of the second D. So the choice is yours. And that's really true. Though it is said in a little bit of a facetious tone, it is very serious. Okay, either you understand data or you become completely disintermediated and you become irrelevant. You become a dinosaur. Now, when you look at the world of digital today, what happens in the world of digital is that when you have a lot of new kinds of devices which are coming, and the devices have smaller and smaller and smaller screens. So in the past days, in the old, decades back, cinema used to be the biggest one. So where the screens are gigantic. Then came televisions. Of course, in televisions, the sizes keep going up and keep going down. But then miniaturization is the direction. So when you come to tablets, and then when you come to phones, and then you come to your wristwatches and things like that, the screen size keeps reducing pretty dramatically. Historically, when you look at your brand logo, a brand logo is nothing but an embodiment, a representation, an identity of your brand and what it stands for. So when consumers take a look at your brand, it triggers some subconscious feelings, motivations, etc. And that's very important for marketers, how their logo shows up. That's why we spend a ton of time on optimizing our logos, and we have got entire brand design architecture and so on and so forth. So what happens is all these essentially were done in the pre-digital era. The science of logo development was pre-digital era. So you had a lot of space, so your logo can be anything or as big. Now the thing is, when the screens are becoming so short and they're becoming so different, are the colors of the logo optimized for the kind of screens and the screen technology, the display technology that is there today? The answer is no. In a majority of the cases, the logo colors are not optimized for the current digital screens. And you might think, what, a red is a red is a red. So why does it matter if it is a little shade here, a little shade there? Nothing could be wrong more wrong than that, which is even slight nuances in the colors can actually bring about big changes in perceptions. And I'll talk to you specifically about what we have done at Mastercard. Now, on the other hand, when the screens become smaller and smaller, the available real estate is so small that your brand has to really stand out. Because there are so many brands and so much of text and so many visuals competing for attention of the consumer on that tiny screen. And believe me, as we are going into the future, there'll be more and more of these wearables, which will have lesser and lesser real estate, visual real estate. So we have to be careful. So what we did at Mastercard is, firstly, we started recognizing this trend, even as it was about to happen. And we said we need to reinvent our entire logo. So the first thing what we said is, how does our logo look like? This was pre-2016. It is a red and yellow color, the two circles that are overlapping, and the name Mastercard written inside. The consumer feedback was, it's a logo I recognize instantly. However, I think this brand is a little obsolete. Okay, it's not really contemporary, modern, futuristic. Now, the problem is, on the one hand, the recognition is huge because billions of dollars have been invested behind the brand over the last 5 to 6 decades. I cannot let that equity go. And on the other hand, I cannot be stuck in the past. So how do I move into the future? So I had a very interesting conversation with our agency, design agency, to say we need a new logo. The logo should be red and yellow in color, like it has been before. It needs to have two circles because that's an element which is recognized very well. And the name Mastercard has to be there. So the agency said, these are precisely the elements in your existing logo. And you're telling us that nothing of this can change or should change. How is it even possible? So literally, I guess I got the looks of someone they are seeing who has three heads. So fast forward 2 years, they did an outstanding job. So firstly, what we did is we made our logo very modular, which means I can put Mastercard there, I can take out Mastercard. The logo and the balance of the logo doesn't get affected at all adversely. Number two, we made slight adjustments to the red, slight adjustments to the yellow, and also the overlapping of the two circles, we adjusted the ratio of how that looks like. These are so subtle that people barely even notice that there is a change from the previous ones. But the changes are so significant that they say, wow, this logo in total looks cool, contemporary, and modern, and futuristic. It looks more aspirational as opposed to being a total mass brand. It looks more youthful, more energetic. And it was, in fact, actually rated by several industry pundits as one of the best logo redesigns of the decade, which is terrific for us to be recognized that way. But that's how we began. And then finally, what we also said is after 2 years of trying that new logo, because it has gone down so well, we said we can do away with the name Mastercard altogether and just have the symbol. Because the recognition of our brand logo, even without the name Mastercard, is as high as 84% around the world across 110 countries that we operate in. So we said with that kind of a universal recognition, even if I take away my name, it doesn't matter. But why do I do it? The reason why I do it is when I go to small screens, on the small screens, that small space that is allocated to my brand actually has got two competing elements, the interlocking circles and the name Mastercard. Now, when I take away the name Mastercard, I can expand the size of the logos, and it looks disproportionately bigger than any other logo out there on that particular screen. So interestingly, if you look at payments, most of the payments have got their logos in blue color. Whether it is, you look at all the brands, typically, all the payments brands, they're blue in color. We are the only ones who are red and yellow. And on top of it, we are the only ones, and we can be the only ones because other people cannot take away their names from their logos. That is a pure symbol. And that's a real privileged position to be in from a brand perspective. So that's what we have launched. And since then, our trajectory has been nothing but spectacularly upwards. And so it has done very, very well. So that's what our symbol branding is all about. And it is, I think, one of our most successful experiments. And thank God it has gone very well. I would say that's what it is as far as the symbol brand is concerned.
Absolutely.
I'll just spend a few minutes on the Sonic, which you asked for. Right now, if you look at the world again, your strategy has to anticipate where the world is going and tackle that future world. So you need to prepare today for the tomorrow. So what we did when you look at this whole space of how technology is evolving, we have got smart speakers coming in a big way. In a smart speaker, right from the time you ask, hey Alexa, or hey Google, or hey Siri, whatever, the entire interaction, the discovery, all the way to purchasing the product is done through the medium of sound or voice. Though I have optimized my visual logo so brilliantly that I just described, it's completely useless in this environment. So how do I tackle this environment? By creating a brand identity or a brand logo, but in an audio format, in a sound format, which is what sonic branding is about. And again, this is something which we have to be very careful because as a brand, you want to create a logo that is really memorable. Otherwise, it doesn't really get associated. It has to be very pleasant. Otherwise, people will throw up. It has to be very hummable. Hummable, many people should be able to hum it. That which you hum sticks deeper in your brain. It's called earworm. That's an unpleasant term. But the thing is, it really lodges in your head pretty deeply. We need that. It needs to be neutral, which means it cannot be overtaking or dominating any situation, but it should always be supporting any situation. It should be highly versatile, meaning if I'm playing that song, that particular music or melody in a context of a football match or for a romantic evening dinner setting, it should be equally at home. And it also has to be highly adaptable, which means whether I'm playing it in India or in South America or in Germany or in the United States, wherever, it should feel very native. And this is a lot of science. It also deploys neuromarketing, which basically means you do neurological studies to see if your brand is annoying to people. Are they getting fatigued with this particular sound? So you have to really pick it up. It's a science. It's a real science. We spent about 2 years' time on that. And we eventually came out with a 30-second melody. And it's not just a jingle. Okay, when people say jingle, I feel like pulling my hair off. But it's a jingle. It's not a jingle. It's a melody, about 30 seconds, which goes as background to all our advertisements and videos and so on. A subset of this is what we call sonic signature, which is a 3-second subset of the 30-second melody, which plays at the end of our ads and the end of any events, etc. And then you have got a further 1.3-second subset, which we call acceptance sound, which is played wherever Mastercard is accepted. So when you swipe or tap or dip your card at a point of sale terminal, it makes the sound. The transaction has gone through successfully, which is very reassuring to the consumers, but also it evokes the melody of Mastercard in your memory. So this is something which is a very scientific study that we have done, scientific, I would say, approach to sonic branding. And the result is that now we have got a very fascinating sonic branding launch around the world that we had done. And it's already available now in 54 million points of interaction around the world that you can hear our sonic melody. A lot more to go, but the speed has been far exceeding what we have got. Now we're going to launch music albums using the same melody, etc. A lot of fun and excitement on the pike.